Good evening, this is Hayder Institute of Education. I'm Dwayne, and this is the Certificate 4 in Mental Health. Tonight we're looking at this topic on screen, promote Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander cultural safety, and the module code there is CHCDIV002. So that's the topic this week. This is the first one of 3. First session of 3. We did the last session of the last module last week, so there's only been one class this semester up to now. And we're starting a new one tonight. So I'll just start with the acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Hayder Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual and cultural costs of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respect to all First Nation people and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. And just to start off, usually we go over housekeeping, so general housekeeping expectations in the sessions on an evening. There's it's a camera college, so if you're in class, then we all put our cameras on. I put mine on. We're just all in this together, so everybody put your camera on and microphones off. Quite often gives a lot of background noise or feedback as different noises going in the background, or the mic can react against some of the speakers that are in the room. So it's best just to keep the microphones off unless we're interacting in a discussion. If we are interacting in a discussion, then it's best to use the reaction icon underneath the video and just put your hand up for the interaction of the group, just so that we can do it in a structured way. We are all working together, studying together, so just be respectful with opinions and other people, and looking out for each other, making it a healthy space rather than somewhere people just want to air their ideas. And with that, just any triggers that could happen. Some of the content in class could be confronting, could be triggering. So we don't want to make that any worse by any attitudes that might happen, any lack of respect, or any smoking or vaping or drinking alcohol on camera. It's almost like a TAFE class or a work meeting. We wouldn't do it in those places, so we're not going to do it here. It's not the time for doing that. And lastly, look after yourself. It could be a long night, so we have a break, bit of a break, 10-minute break every hour. And with that, we'll just relax, get some fresh air, get a glass of water, maybe some sugar. But after classes, during the week, at the weekend, whenever possible, just look after yourself. Take time to build yourself up and support your mind, social, psychology, your psyche, everything to build yourself up, or physical body, just during the week. It helps. So an overview of the session. As I said, it's session 1. So tonight we're going to be looking at the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural safety, the welcoming their culture into our workplace. And we'll be looking at topics going from custodians of the land, Indigenous culture before colonisation, the diversity of the culture, the land itself, kinship, spirituality, the dreaming. So just as a warm-up activity in class, just to get your mind kick-started might be tired from the day. So just to get it kicked in and ready, there's some songs on here. They've all got pictures to go with the songs. It's a bit like a word game. And see how many you can get. So in a minute, exactly a minute. I'm trying to list them. Big Yellow Taxi there. Crocodile Rock. Um, 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 Struggling. 25 seconds left. Stairway to Heaven. I reckon that might be Yellow Submarine. So have I just got 4? Can I get one more? That could be The Man in the Mirror. Maybe it's 6. I'm not sure. I'm sure you could spend hours looking at that. And that could be another brick in the wall. That'll do. Anyway, we're all visitors to this time, this place. We're just passing through. Our purpose here is to observe, to learn, grow, to love, and then we return home. An Australian Aboriginal proverb. Wisdom is wisdom, wherever it comes from. It's healthy, positive wisdom. So, just to start off, Australian Aboriginal culture and history. In this unit, we use the terms Indigenous, Aboriginal, and Torres Strait Islander, using the abbreviation ATSI or the word Aborigines are considered offensive and disrespectful. So ATSI, you see it on loads of documents and forms, government forms, job forms, so many different forms that you might be filling in for all sorts of Australian government documentation. ATSI status is what it says. But that and the word Aborigine, both quite offensive to the Indigenous or Aboriginal community because it's too generic. It's not being specific and it's degrading. So the word Aborigine was different to Aboriginal. Aborigine was it was one of the first words used by the settlers as not to mean the original owners of the land, but more like the natives that were here when we arrived. That's so it's very different meaning. And Aboriginal is a lot closer to the word of an indigenous culture to the land. So custodians of the land, Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people are the first Australians, meaning they are the custodians of Australian land. So before colonisation, as in before white colonisation. Before the colonisation of Australia by the British in 1788, Australian Aboriginals lived in this land for at least 60,000 years. Some may suggest much longer. There is no written history, only remains of Dreamtime stories, cave paintings, and etchings displaying their extraordinary past. So where books might have corroded and rotted away, been destroyed, if books had been used, books haven't been used, and cave paintings, cave art, and Indigenous art could well have lasted a lot longer. Before colonization, our people did not have economy of money, rather of daily activities such as hunting, fishing, and seed gathering. Vital, essential activities really to keep the community, to keep the family going, to build community. Everyone made and repaired spears, boomerangs, and digging sticks, mainly out of wood. Ground edge tools made of stone were used as early as 10,000 years before Europeans. So the diversity of the indigenous culture. People mix the complex nature and the total diversity of our culture. Mix, not mix, sorry. Sorry. People miss the complex nature and the total diversity of our culture. So all across Australia, we've got obviously New South Wales in this block here, got Queensland above, got ACT around here, we've got Victoria around here. Oops. Obviously, South Australia comes up here, Northern Territory around here, and then Western. And all the different shadings are all the different tribes and mob and languages in the land. So just breaking that down a bit, just in New South Wales, all the different languages that are in New South Wales spread out right from the top all the way down to the bottom near Victoria, ACT. With each mob having a different language quite often, then it's going to have slightly different culture and slightly different cultural patterns to do with story and creativity as well, and the way things are passed on. There's a similar one for Victoria. So looking at diversity, it's estimated that there were around 600 different clan groups or nations around the continent. So continent being Australasia, not Australasia, sorry. Just Australia, Torres Strait Islands, Tasmania, Cook Islands. That's only a small bit of Australasia, really. So it's 600 different clan groups or nations around the continent. Different groups or clans develop their own unique skills, stories, dreaming tracks, languages, traditions, family kinship group structures, and cultural expectations. That's what I was. So first of all, the group activity. If you're looking at this on the video, or if you were in class right now, we'd be having some research time to just research the land that you're in, thinking about whichever state or territory you're in, look at your land and the mob or clan that are from your area, and maybe the language that is used. You can add it to your Zoom name if you want, because it's technically where the traditional people of the land, that area, and their language. So just pause it while you go off and do that if you're watching the video. The Aboriginal Land Councils are a reliable source for learning which country you're in. To find out more information, Google the name of your town and Aboriginal Land Council. Research the land you're on and the language. Be good to do the language as well. So that's just a bit of research. So also with diversity, Australian Indigenous communities kept their cultural heritage alive by passing their knowledge, arts, rituals, and performances from one generation to another, and by protecting cultural materials and sacred sites. Um, so totems. Totem is like a symbol that would be given to child at birth as almost like a bit like your name, um, but it's a natural a symbol from nature, a symbol from nature to go along with your name that represented who you were. So at birth, we would receive our birth totem. This will depend on many things. Totem is the first step in our life cycle. It brings certain custodial roles, responsibility, and customs for the person. E.g., a baby boy may have the sand goanna as his totem. This means that as he grows, he will be educated in all aspects of the spiritual significance of the sand goanna. This totem will become a guardian and will be a source of identity, strength, and guidance during his life. So the strengths and characteristics that make the sand goanna strong, the child will learn these things and um, grow into these characteristics as well, the positives of that. Moving on to land. So Aboriginal people live in both the physical and the spiritual world. Dualism. Aboriginal people see the land as their mother, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. The relationship with the land is one of receiving and giving. So obviously we plant, we put seed into the land, it gives us back harvest. It's another wise thing, really. We do not own the land, but are the custodians of it. It's like owning a mountain or owning the storm. Can't really own that. We can't own the seeds when they are more powerful than we are. Country. We came from the land, so we belong to the land. The land gives us everything we need: food, shelter, tools, and weapons. So if we pick up a rock and a branch that's come off a tree, put them together and build a spear, it don't really belong to us. They're part of the land. If we kill an animal that's from the land, we haven't really taken it. It's all still part of the land. We were born from the land, and then eventually we're going to go back to the land. Country is central to the well-being of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Country is not just soil, rocks, and minerals, but it's places, times, spirits, the nature, the animals, the plants, the humans. It's all country. And kinship. Different clans develop slightly different family structures. Clan, family, and extended family groups might be called kin or skin groups. And obviously with 600 clans, that even in Australia, that's a lot of diversity already before colonization of whites. So looking at nations, clans, and family groups, the University of Sydney have done a good video on that. That's we can't watch it on the video because of copyright, but okay, that's 4 minutes. It's a brief introduction, really. It's good. So with kinship, traditionally kinship influenced marriage decisions and governed much of everyday behavior. Trusting the wisdom of elders, trust in the wisdom of our older family, where they could help us and advise us. That's what used to happen. Whether that would be for eating, for harvesting, the relationships, we're going to trust people that have gone before us. Kinship was about meeting the obligations of one's clan, formed part of Aboriginal law, and was closely aligned with the dreaming and lifestyle. And kinship video. Okay, so that's that kinship video. It's a minute long. It's not a lengthy watch. So spirituality and beliefs. Just as every culture has its creation stories, dreaming is the term most used to reflect the creation period whereby creation spirits, the ancestors, shaped the world and created every natural thing in it. Aboriginal peoples see the world of the dreaming as a fundamental reality. It's an Aboriginal philosophy. It's also the law, not legality law, obviously, because that's that one, the law or the way everything works. It's an ongoing link between the spirit ancestors and Aboriginal peoples and all of nature. I nearly said Jedi Force, but it's not. That's not what I mean. Specific dreaming stories are linked to specific regions of land or country, and these are the custodial responsibility of specific Aboriginal peoples. They refer to each group's stories, which express their understanding, knowing, and beliefs about their origins. So as each clan and tribe goes down different states and territories, it's going to have, there might be some commonalities in the different stories, but as it gets further around, there's going to be there'll be a different creation story from the mountain mob as there would be in the beach mob, the people that lived around the ocean, because there's different interaction between the land and the trees and the plants and the flowers and the farming, and the whole of culture is different if you live in the mountains than it is down in the valley close to the sea or close to a river or in the middle of the outback. Very, very different. So they're all going to have different cultural um, stories. Our culture is based on strong spiritual ties that link to the ancient land. People are born of the spirit which inhabits the land and on dying return to the soil to be reborn. Our culture is animistic. In an animistic world, everything is interconnected. People, plants, and animals, landforms, and celestial bodies are part of a larger reality. In this world, nothing is inanimate. Everything is alive. Animals, plants, and natural forces are all energized by spirit. So it's spirituality as well. Each person is thought to be descended from either a plant or an animal, and that this becomes their totem or spirit guide with its own rules of behavior. Tribal elders were the wise ones and upheld the law and kept the knowledge. The tribal elders, the ancestors, or the living ancestors, would be the ones that made the decisions for children and the children's children and help them guide and progress on through life. So the dreaming is the spirituality side, and it's where everything connects with in creativity and life and the practicalities of everyday chores and hard work is blended with family, and it's blended with land, and it's blended with the dreaming as well. So we've got initiation rites, birth and childhood, marriage, all the rites here, music, dance, different creativity styles, territory, religion or beliefs, no defined religion, just spirituality, really. Um, the ethics and law, technology, fibers, fiber craft, sculpture, carving, and artwork. Artwork slowly blends into the technology. Um, religion slowly blends into creativity. Creativity obviously blends into art, and a tool is almost as much a piece of creativity and art as it is a technological tool for hunting. And a meal that's running around or jumping around in the field is just as much a piece of the land and culture as it is something necessary for food. So dreaming, it's an ongoing link between the spirit ancestors of Aboriginal people, animals and nature. The Aboriginal concept of time is cyclic rather than linear, shared through rituals, ceremonies, song and dance. An Aboriginal person's dreaming is the place where that person's spirit came from and to which it will return. The dreaming as it relates to the lives of Aboriginal people today is expressed in many forms and mediums. The dream time was the very beginning. Just as every culture has its creation stories, the dream time is the creation period whereby creation spirits, ancestors shaped the world and created every natural thing in it. The dreaming sets the rules for relationships between people, land, and spiritual beliefs. Forged at the beginning of time, they explain how the lands are shaped and why animals and plants exist, like Biami the rainbow serpent and Wangina, known as the creation spirits. The dreaming impacts on Aboriginal law. Looking at this Dreamtime story, this is a really cool story about the platypus. Sorry, yeah, the platypus and how the platypus and the ducks potentially had a have a creation story, and there's a bad guy in it as well. And if we look at it, watch the video. Um, it's a story about the creation story, and then it's also a parable. So I'll look at that afterwards. Get you the link. There you go. Billabong dreaming story. It's on YouTube. Um, that's 11 minutes long. Um, so watch that and just think about the story and what it might mean nowadays. So, not necessarily in breakout rooms because you're not here. Um, think about the story of the platypus and answer the questions. You'll need to select someone to share your key points of the group. Yeah, okay. What's your understanding of the story? So it's a it's a creation story from the elders from the past, but it's also talking about racism. and it's talking about how the whites came and took control, which is it's not necessarily a negative story. It's just, in many ways, it's a factual story about what happened in the past. And it does describe history fairly well. So in many ways, it's a creation story of how Australia today has been created. There you go. What's your understanding of the story? Could be a bit of an answer. Um, how would the story impact a person's identity? So if somebody feels like they are part of the the people in the story that are getting controlled and manipulated, then it's going to be difficult for them to live through that. Okay, we are at the end of the session, so there's two main things to do over the next few weeks. Before next session, this is almost homework, but it's not really. It's just sit down and watch some TV. Find somewhere on the internet. It's on YouTube, and it's also on either ABC or SBS. Lousy Little Sixpence, a story of the stolen generation. Also, as well as this movie, there is this one, Rabbit Proof Fence. They're both very, very good. Both very, very good stories talking about stolen generation, like 100 years ago. Powerful and true stories. So watch them both if you can. It'd be very helpful. Just some other things. So that's the platypus story. Learner guide for this module. Promote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander safety. So first access is the pretend community service agency that for all our assessments, you'll be pretending that you work for them. You might be pretending that you work as the counsellor or the youth worker or the community worker. But in all your assessments, or most of your assessments, you're going to be pretending you work for First Access. You're going to be looking at different case files from First Access. You're going to be looking at different incidents, ethical incidents, positive, negative incidents from First Access. So that's First Access. This is the different strands of First Access and what they do. So with the learner guide, this is this week. And we've got to here. So our movies for the week, TV watching for the week, the impact on Australians First People. So we've had a brief history, local losing identity, exclusion, racism and discrimination. We're going to have a look at this a little bit next week. And then how we work through it in community service in the next few weeks. And then we'll go through the learner guide. This learner guide works for your assessments. This is pretty much all you need for most of them. It's ideal. By the end of this chapter, parts of the history of the First Nation peoples, more about experience of First Nation peoples, the impact of these experiences on First Nation peoples. So a history from Captain Cook before. So we've looked at all of this already. Structure of power, protection, segregation, elders, the way the community runs. So we'll look at that more next week. And just to finish, this is the training website. This is what the government's wanting us to look at. So just looking at this, the training.gov website, this is the government's plan of the way they put the modules together. So that wherever, obviously, whichever TAFE or whichever organization you were studying this at, you would cover this module in this way. So this module, like I said, promote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural safety. And what they're wanting us to do is this. Just make it a little bit bigger. So this unit describes the skills and knowledge required to identify Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural safety issues in the workplace. So it's about the workplace. That's what it's for. It's not necessarily looking at the looking at in cultural politics or our environment. It's looking at it looking in a workplace environment. Model cultural safety in our own work practice and develop strategies to enhance cultural safety. It's workplace based, not politics, or not high street or our hobbies or community centres. It's about our workplace. This unit applies to people working in a broad range of roles, including those involved in direct client service, program planning, development, and evaluation contexts. So it's workplace specific in different contexts, and how we enhance the cultural safety of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. And this is how the topic is assessed. So just to finish, just recap. That was the homework, kind of. The movie's on for an hour and it's about the stolen generation. Oh, there we go. Yeah, SBS and YouTube. So I'll just go back to the beginning of the topic. There's an overview of what we've done. This is what we've looked at tonight, obviously. So custodians of the land, not owners. Don't believe in anybody can own the land. So custodians would be caretakers almost, and that's the way that's the way Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders would expect anybody to look at land. It's not something that can be owned. It's something that can be shared and taken care of and looked after as the land looks after us as well. So looked at the society before colonization, diversity in the culture, the land, kinship, spirituality, and the dreaming. Looking at before colonization to after colonization, or before colonization to now, would be an interesting study. How many languages are now left? How many mob are now left? Not people in the mob, but different clans, how many different clans are now represented in Australia, where the main ones disappeared from, because some have been wiped out. An interesting sociological study for Australia. Okay, so that's enough for tonight, and session 2 next week. Thank you.